Commander Brooklyn Brick Hardcastle had exactly 3 rules in retirement. Never wear pants with buttons, never attend PTA meetings sober, and never, under any circumstance, answer calls from Starflunk Academy. Naturally, all 3 rules imploded when her comm tablet vibrated with the jittery face of Principal Wibby Glorb, a sentient blob of administrative failure shaped like guilt and raspberry gelatin. Mrs. Hardcastle, Commander, Madam, I deeply regret to inform you that your son Maximus has been, temporarily misfiled. Brick blinked. Once, slowly. You lost my kid. Wibby glorped in shame. He was last seen entering the Centauri Craft Museum's temporal bone exhibit and, well, those bones were very unlabeled. Brick inhaled, then sipped from her tactical mug. The phrase, "world's deadliest mom," glinted across it, like a promise. "Wibby," she said sweetly, "if I don't have visual confirmation of my son in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to file you under critical biological waste and launch a strike package codenamed Frappe Apocalypse." The line disconnected with the sound of an alien sob and a coffee grinder powering up. She stood up, cracked her spine, and pulled her combat braid tighter. Retirement was officially canceled. 5 minutes later, the mothballed war cruiser, USS. Mild discomfort yawned to life from her garage, still grumpy from a decade-long slumber and groggy on outdated firmware. "Welcome back, Commander," the ship's AI crooned, voice dripping with condescension and Bluetooth lag. "Would you like your standard threat playlist loaded? Now playing Barbie Girl, Tactical Remix." Brick smirked as the beat dropped like a concussion grenade. She locked in coordinates for the Formaxi hegemony, first on her unofficial list of people about to deeply regret breathing, while simultaneously syncing her armor systems to her old SEAL squad group chat. Within seconds, emojis exploded. "Ladies," she typed, "some moron abducted my kid. Bring the glitter cannons." As mild discomfort barreled through a bureaucratic wormhole with all the grace of a rhino in a tutu, Brick rehearsed her lines. She didn't do war cries. She did mom voice. She didn't make demands. She offered second chances laced with regret. And she didn't negotiate. She just guilt-tripped empires into surrender. Arriving in Formaxi airspace, she was greeted, not with alarms or interceptors, but a polite auto message. "Please submit Form 9DC-OMG before initiating conflict." She blinked again. Twice. AI, prep railgun, the disclaimer, and aim it at that floating inbox. One spectacular explosion of paperwork later, the entire defense grid was offline, and a flaming spiral of legal documents twirled into orbit like confetti at the world's most passive-aggressive wedding. "Tactical success," the AI purred. "Would you like to declare sarcasm as your diplomatic language?" "Obviously," she muttered, already walking through the smoking remains of an administrative checkpoint labeled "Only staff beyond this point, Karen." Inside, she confronted Captain Meepflorp, a creature composed entirely of nervous eye twitches and policy binders. "Commander Hardcastle," he stammered, "surely there's a more civilized way." "You lost a child during a school field trip," she said, voice level. "That's not just a screw-up, that's an intergalactic snackadent." His jaw flapped. She shoved a holopad under his nose. Max's last known coordinates. "Scan this, cough up the security logs, and maybe I won't make your desktop background a slideshow of you sobbing into your TPS reports." The captain whimpered as the AI began beatboxing the Geneva Convention in auto-tuned Klingon. Meanwhile, Brick found her target on the logs, Max, surrounded by sketchy salespeople with Meridouche bizarre trade credentials and what looked like a suspiciously labeled educational crate of curiosity. Her jaw tightened. "Oh, you idiots," she whispered. "You've activated Mom Protocol Delta." As the mild discomfort powered up its jump drive again, the Formaxi base crumbled into a sobbing, legal ruin. Brick Hardcastle stood at the helm, coffee in one hand, railgun in the other, sarcasm locked and loaded. Her son was out there, and heaven help the next poor bastard who filed him incorrectly. Because this wasn't just a search and rescue, it was a glitter-fueled declaration of maternal war. The jump to Marradush Bazaar was less a transit and more a full-blown personality shift for the USSS Mild Discomfort, which immediately adopted its undercover PTA Mom with Weapons protocol, complete with hull decals that read "free samples inside" and a jingle that sounded suspiciously like an off-key version of Dancing Queen. As Brick paced the command deck in her armor, scuffed, scorched, and glitter-stickered from the last school fundraiser massacre, she reviewed the audio logs she'd hacked from the Formaxi servers. Sure enough, Max's voice was faint but clear. "Hey, are these real alien skulls or just rebranded Halloween props?" Followed by an ominous, "Please remain calm while your group is redirected for unauthorized curiosity." That was Marradush. "For we sold your kid to an educational trafficking cartel, but we gift-wrapped him in holographic bubble wrap. So it's fine." Brick's eyebrow twitched. The bazaar was a chaos planet-sized marketplace orbiting a collapsing bureaucracy star where smugglers, collectors, cultists, and MLM pyramid scheme recruiters coexisted in uneasy detente. Entering its perimeter required a docking declaration, a trade voucher, and an emotional support llama, none of which Brick had. She solved that problem by slingshotting a cargo pod full of discontinued glitter bombs at the gate security drones, which immediately panicked and mistook it for a diplomatic gift from the cult of cosmic sparkles. Clearance granted. Inside, the bazaar pulsed with noise, neon lights, and bootleg pop-up shops selling everything from soul insurance to emotionally haunted cutlery. Brick scanned the crowd, her visor running facial recognition on every vendor, buyer, and sentient pile of ooze within 100 meters. AI, locate anyone selling educational curiosities with a strong scent of felony. The AI beeped. Once. Target identified. Stall 32G, specializing in mystical minor primates and adorable war criminals. That's Max, she muttered. He fits both categories. She marched through the crowd, shoulder-checking a two-headed influencer and drop-kicking a hoverboard-riding fur-blacks who tried to sell her bath salts made from black hole dust. At stall 32G, she found a smirking merchant with 7 sunglasses and 0 survival instinct. "You must be Brick," he sneered. "You're famous. Heard you once wiped out an embassy because someone insulted your son's art project." Brick tilted her head. It was a macaroni tank. It had emotional nuance. Then she pulled a pin on a canister labeled Operation Syncopated Distraction and lobbed it behind the merchant's crate. The device exploded into blinding lights and weaponized harmonies of bye bye bye, triggering immediate chaos. Cleaning bots began breakdancing. Security turrets malfunctioned, mistaking twerking for hostile movement. Somewhere, a small alien screamed, "Oh no, not the Backstreet Event Horizon!" Amid the confusion, Brick dove behind the stall and located Max's GPS tracker buried under a pile of promotional brochures for ethically acquired youth ambassadors. But her son wasn't there, just a hastily scribbled note in Max's messy handwriting. "Mom, went with some nice red guys in robes. They offered free snacks. Don't worry, I bartered for safe passage using your old threat dossier." Brick's blood ran cold and then boiled. The Crimson Snackrifice Legion. A pseudo-religious death cult with a branding obsession and a ceremonial fondness for interpretive violence. And they had her kid. Brick snapped the note shut, turned to the merchant, now singing against his will, and grabbed him by the collar. "Where did they go?" He whimpered something about a ritual transport shuttle, then passed out from tactical falsetto exposure. Brick stood tall, cracked her knuckles, and sent a broadcast across open channels. "To the Crimson Snackrifice. Legion, this is Commander Brooklyn Hardcastle. You have something of mine. You now have exactly 3 hours to return him, unharmed and unbrainwashed, or I will initiate Operation Abageddon. And trust me, no one survives the encore." She stepped onto her ship, eyes blazing, war paint, smudged with glitter and espresso. The mild discomfort rumbled in anticipation as it recalibrated to its final protocol. Full maternal war mode. Somewhere out there, Max was eating cult snacks, and Brick was about to feed his kidnappers a whole buffet of pain served with tactical guilt trips in the thermonuclear chorus of Mamma Mia. The USS's mild discomfort tore through subspace like a caffeinated banshee, its engines leaving behind a trail of glitter-infused exhaust and sarcasm-laced transmission echoes that made 3 neighboring trade networks file psychological damage claims. Commander Brooklyn Brick Hardcastle stood at the helm, 1 foot on the console like a pirate queen with a coffee addiction and a vendetta. Her eyes locked on the glowing crimson coordinates of the Snack-Riffis stronghold, a fortress asteroid, shaped like an angry donut, orbiting a dead star and broadcasting Gregorian death metal 24/7. "AI," she said, her voice steady, deadly, and about 3 sips away from full unhinged. "Prep Operation Baby Shark Protocol, and cue Dancing Queen for entry breach." "Confirmed," replied the ship's AI, already warming up its speakers and retracting the internal seatbelts. "Initiating musical warfare and deploying tactical guilt trip pre-rolls." Brick's old SEAL squad had arrived via warp-lagged party shuttle disguised as a bachelorette ship. Within minutes, her sisters in sarcasm were locking and loading, applying mascara with military precision and syncing their heartbeat monitors to the tempo of Hit Me Baby One More Time, Combat Remix. Together, they boarded dropships shaped like weaponized minivans, each labeled with Mom Squad Alpha in neon pink, and launched their descent toward the cult's main hall, which was carved from obsidian and adorned with poorly translated motivational banners like "Glory to Sacrifice of Crunchy" and "Pain is just pre-snack joy." Brick kicked in the main doors mid-verse, flanked by a synchronized wave of tactical mom rage, every woman carrying something lethal, glittery, or both. Inside, crimson-robed cultists froze mid-dance prayer around a snack altar, upon which Max sat casually munching on some unholy granola bar and waving. "Hey Mom, they gave me juice." Brick's expression didn't change. "That's not juice, honey. That's sacrificial berry extract." "Huh, tastes like feet and war crimes." The cult leader, Supreme Overlord Cracks, stepped forward, robes billowing, voice like a blender full of tax evasion. "You dare desecrate our sanctum with pop music and caffeine? This is sacred ground." Brick stepped closer, eyes narrow, mug in hand. "You abducted a Navy SEAL's child because he liked fossils. I brought justice and espresso. You're about to get both, in the face." Cracks laughed, high-pitched, and entirely unjustified. "You think to challenge the Snack-Riffis Legion with petty dance and holographic shame?" Brick raised a hand. "Release the baby shark swarm." Dozens of drones burst into the room, each one projecting 360-degree views of childhood home videos. Max's first diaper malfunction, his Intergalactic talent show meltdown, and one particularly embarrassing footage of him singing "Let It Go" in full Elsa cosplay. The cultists screamed, their ranks breaking into chaos as they shielded their eyes from the horror of sincerity and glitter. But Brick wasn't done. "Phase 2, she whispered, and the AI obliged, flooding the fortress with synchronized audio barrages of Barbie Girl, Friday, and the Gummy Bear song mashed with tactical dubstep. The walls shook, firewalls collapsed, the defensive systems short-circuited from second-hand embarrassment. Drones began projecting weaponized, interpretive dances, codified in military protocol as shame-wave tactics, as Brick and her team stormed the altar. Max hopped down, still chewing. "Can we go home now?" "After I humiliate one more empire," Brick said, turning to Cracks, now curled in a fetal position and whispering, "Not the karaoke files, not the middle school haircut archive." She leaned over him. "You surrender, or I launch Celine Dion protocol. Your entire priesthood will be re-educated through song, and not the good kind." Cracks wailed, signing a surrender treaty in pudding. With Max safe and the cult crushed under the weight of their own repressed trauma and Brick's tactical childhood footage, The mild discomfort blasted off into the stars, broadcasting a galaxy-wide PSA. Do not abduct human children, especially ones with moms. As they jumped to light speed, Brick finally exhaled, dropped into her seat, and handed Max a juice box. "Next time," she said, voice dry as a Martian pancake, "you're going to a museum with security clearance." Max nodded. "Got it. So, water parks are cool again?" Brick sighed. "Only if I can bring the railgun." The ride home should have been the calm after the storm. Victory music, coffee-fueled bonding, maybe a sarcastic slideshow of everything that got blown up. But fate, being the cosmic raccoon it was, had one last trash dive left. As the USSS, mild discomfort re-entered neutral galactic space. A blinking diplomatic ping hijacked the comms, projecting the shrill, panicked hologram of Ambassador Frilltalks of the United Council of Ono-Humans. "Commander Hardcastle! You violated 17,392 interstellar statutes, triggered 3 economic recessions, and destabilized 12 religious economies with your mom-powered assault ballet. You must stand trial before the Grand Tribunal of Non-Hostile Conflict." "Resolution!" Brick sipped from her mug and muttered, "Oh no, not the PowerPoint Council." Her son Max, lounging with tactical nonchalance in a juice box, shrugged. "Is this the part where you crash a courtroom again?" "Last time was a misunderstanding," she replied. The confetti cannon went off early. Within the hour, mild discomfort touched down on Tribunal Station, an ivory tower of bureaucracy floating in a zero-gravity shame spiral. Brick entered the hearing chamber, flanked by her SEAL squad in formal tactical aprons and one emotional support blender. The chamber was filled with 47 alien species, each with a clipboard, a gavel, or a nervous bladder. "We call this hearing to order," buzzed the Grand Arbitrator, a floating squid-walrus hybrid with glasses perched on what might have been its navel. "Commander Hardcastle, how do you plead?" Brick leaned forward, voice rich with caffeine. "And consequences." "I plead fabulous." Gasps rippled across the chamber. "You assaulted a tax fortress with boy band music. They filed my son under miscellaneous war loot. You weaponized embarrassing baby videos. They tried to initiate him into a snack-rifice cult that thinks Lunchables are holy relics." The room erupted in overlapping alien shouting, until Brick raised a hand and pulled out a holodisc labeled Exhibit Q, Mom Rage Unleashed. With a flick, the disc projected a real-time hologram of the Crimson Snackrifice's own surveillance footage. Max being led away, suspicious snacks, the ominous chanting, the juice boxes with biohazard labels. Gasps turned to groans. "Council," she said firmly, pacing like a caffeinated legal nuke. "Your galactic procedures failed. Your museum lost a whole field trip. Your trade station allowed my son to be bartered like a sentient Tamagotchi. And your enforcement protocols didn't even flinch when a known cult offered free brainwashing Thursdays." The tribunal squirmed. One ambassador fainted into a pile of poorly translated legal codes. Another wept openly at the footage of Max's diaper incident looped in the background. "So yes," she concluded, pointing a glitter-covered finger at the crowd, "I broke a few rules. I also saved my son, exposed a trafficking ring, forced a death cult to enroll in ballet therapy, and launched a galaxy-wide anti-abduction meme campaign that now airs hourly on 10,000 stations." She turned to the camera drone floating overhead and smiled. "You're welcome." Silence reigned. Then a slow, reluctant clap echoed through the chamber. It came from the oldest tribunal member, a blind, crusty crustacean who had apparently survived 6 galactic uprisings and 1 unfortunate sock puppet rebellion. "Let the record state," he rasped, "that Commander Hardcastle has proven 3 things. 1. Earth mothers are tactical apex predators. 2. Coffee is a war asset. And 3. ABBA is a crime deterrent. Case dismissed." The room burst into chaos as Brick turned on her heel, scooped up Max, and strolled out like it was just another school pickup. Back on the ship, as they lifted, off to the tune of Dancing Queen, Max leaned into his mother's side. "Mom?" he asked. "Yeah, kiddo? Do I have to go to school tomorrow?" Brick smiled faintly, flipping a switch that launched a glitter chaff cloud into low orbit. "Not if they lose you again." And with that, mild discomfort jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind a trail of sparkles, legal reforms, confused empires, and a universal reminder etched in every galactic charter. Do not mess with Earth moms.